Hi, today is Friday, February 24th, and this is A Swede Speaks. Yesterday, Mr. Jimmie Åkesson, who is party leader for the Sweden Democrats, and Mattias Karlsson, who is group leader for said party in the Swedish parliament, wrote a debate article in the Wall Street Journal. The headline of the article is, quote, "Trump is right. Sweden's embrace of refugees isn't working," end quote. Among the things Mr. Åkesson and Mr. Karlsson writes is, or are, quote, "Mr. Trump did not exaggerate Sweden's current problems. If anything, he understated them. Sweden took in about 275,000 asylum seekers from 2014 until 2016, more per capita than any other European country. 80% of those who came in 2015 lacked passports and identification, but the majority come from Muslim nations. Islam has become Sweden's second largest religion. In Malmö, our third largest city, Mohammed is the most common name for baby boys," end quote. They also write, quote, "Riots and social unrest have become a part of everyday life. Police officers, firefighters, and ambulance personnel are regularly attacked. Serious riots in 2013, involving many suburbs with large immigrant populations, lasted for almost a week. Gang violence is booming. Despite very strict firearm laws, gun violence is 5 times as common in Sweden in total as in the capital cities of our 3 Nordic neighbors combined." So, please note, here are 2 Swedish politicians who say that Trump is right and that Trump's comments were an understatement of the actual situation. They end their article by writing, quote, "For the sake of the American people, with whom we share so many strong historical and cultural ties, we can only hope that the leaders in Washington won't make the same mistakes that our socialists and liberal politicians did," end quote. My opinion about this? They are absolutely right. I do not always agree with the Sweden Democrats, but I agree in this case. How does the Swedish government respond to this? Morgan Johansson, who is Minister for Justice and Migration in the Swedish government and a social democrat, says that Mr. Åkesson and Mr. Karlsson spreads dung or rubbish about Sweden. Mr. Johansson says that the Sweden Democrats are lying about Sweden. As far as I can see, he fails to point out what Mr. Åkesson and Mr. Karlsson's actual lie is. He just claims that they are lying. By the way, Morgan Johansson is an organized atheist in Sweden, and at a meeting a few years ago, when he was welcomed as a member of the Swedish Humanist Association, which is Sweden's largest atheist organization, he said that he was going to work for eradicating Christianity in Sweden. I wonder what he really thinks about Islam. The conflict between President Trump and Sweden has turned into a conflict between different views on Sweden. There were never a conflict between Trump and Sweden, really. The conflict was always a conflict about information. Because it's a conflict between truth and false. What is the truth about Sweden? And that's what this conflict is really about. And all that Mr. Trump's comments highlighted was the information war already going on in Sweden and in the Western world. And this is a decisive moment for Sweden. Sweden needs to finally do the right thing. I know this is extremely difficult in Sweden, where political correctness turned into the unofficial state religion. And the most recent riots in Sweden, those on Monday, right? I think so. On Monday in Rinkeby in Stockholm, 0 rioters have been arrested, 0 suspects, 0 rioters are suspected, and 0 rioters are identified. But 1 police officer is suspected. He is held under suspicion because he shot at the mob. What was he going to do? The problem is the Swedish police is underfinanced. They don't have the resources they need. They don't have the manpower they need. And well, there are a lot of things that could be said about the Swedish police force. Like, for instance, how they fired the civil employees, the ones sitting at desks doing desk jobs. And all of a sudden you had police officers who, instead of patrolling the streets, were sitting at desks. Yeah, and that's crazy. But anyway, this video isn't about how to reform the Swedish police. Maybe I should do one about that too. But this is about the information war going on. And just to be clear on this, I am not against immigration as such. There are lots of wonderful immigrants living in Sweden and in Norway. I am an immigrant in Norway. If I'm wonderful, I don't know. But anyway, the problem with Sweden is that you have political correctness. You have the idea that it doesn't matter if it's Christianity or Islam. But you also have this idea that things are not to be discussed openly. We are not to openly discuss what's going on in the Swedish no-go areas, of which there are 55 in Sweden now. It wasn't like this when I was a kid, some 20, 30 years ago in Sweden. It's like that now. And Sweden really have to deal with this. As I said, this is the decisive moment. And actually, there are elections in Sweden coming up, but there are 16 more months. No. There is 1.5 years left until there is until election in Sweden. And I don't know if Sweden will, what happens until then. I just hope and pray that the country somehow manages to keep together for another 1.5 years, because it's not going to be nice. We're going to get more ugly news from Sweden. I'm pretty sure that Trump will highlight Sweden again, because, well, it's difficult not to. Here in Norway, where I live, Sweden is now used as a warning example in the media and by at least by right-wing politicians. The left-wing politicians don't want to say too much about it because they still sort of like Sweden. But not to digress too much. We need to look at what's going on. We need to take a stand, and we need to deal with this. Because if things that happen in Sweden, if we keep sweeping it under a rug, what is going to happen when the Swedes finally had enough? I don't even want to think about that. So, first of all, an open debate is needed. Right now, Swedes get their information from alternative media and from foreign media, because the mainstream media in Sweden don't want to talk about this. Not very much, at least. And they don't want to give you all the facts. That's the other thing. Facts need to be on the table. And then the state, the government of Sweden needs to take back the areas they lost. Because what is government's job, really? The main purpose of even having a government is that the government needs to protect its citizens from inner and outer enemies. That means protect the borders from attacks and protect people from criminals. And we have to identify what's going on, who is doing it. If there are people who aren't Swedish citizens who are doing stuff, they need to be sentenced and, well, sent out of the country. If they are Swedish citizens, it's of course a different matter. And it doesn't matter their ethnicity here. It only matters if they're citizens. Yeah, anyway. There are a lot of things to think about when it comes to Sweden. and this is what I have to say about it right now. I would like to thank the people who have donated to this channel through PayPal and through Patreon. And if you like this channel, please subscribe to it, please share my videos, please like my videos, and if you want to, you can support it. I encourage you to do so, because I am doing this for free. It's never going to cost anything to watch my channel, but I am very happy if you support it. If you got $1, if you got $10, if you got $1 million, whatever, I'll take it. And I will of course include all the necessary information and other interesting links in the information box below. This is A Swede Speaks. Have a nice day.